This is your November 2025 soul story. If you have a sun rising or your moon is in the sign, this is your reading. It's Romy here. Thank you so much for joining me on the channel. We're opening up this month with the energy of the Three of Cups. This is a month that spiritual backbone is really being revealed, and I think there is this part of you that's like, enough is enough. I'm not going to do things in this way anymore. There's almost this kind of contemplation of, is this worth it? I think you've been sort of enmeshed and almost kind of like entangled in some sort of a situation, and honestly there's just a new perspective and there's a new approach that's coming forth this month. You feel very driven and you're going to feel very differently in yourself, right? And I think that there's a realization of, you know, what that now looks and feels like and how it needs to give you permission to make shifts and changes in your life that are going to reflect it. Okay, now Mars is moving into Sagittarius on the 4th, right ahead of our full moon in Taurus on the 5th. So we are feeling that need for freedom. Actually, you're in 9th house through Scorpio season, and Mars is just amplifying that. And it's almost like to love who you are, you can't hate the experiences that have shaped you. You know, that's a phrase we often hear, isn't it? And it's just what's coming in now. And it's almost just like the acceptance that you come to in regards to where you've been, but also where you are. And, you know, the realization that there's some things that are not optimal. But that full moon in Taurus is kind of coming in a very sort of final way in regards to something. And I think you're quite grounded and sort of welcoming of it in a way, you know. I think that the wisdom and the knowledge that has been received by you is helping you to make this commitment to yourself in the early part of November. I also think that you're being encouraged, and I think that there are some important signs that are showing up, and notably in and around that full moon in Taurus, around investing into something. And you maybe have dipped your toe in the water previously, okay? But I feel that there's some part of you now that wants to go more into this. Like there's a bigger calling towards it, okay? And it feels like it's almost going to be something that's going to be starting to shape like a bigger new chapter for you, okay? So there's some encouragement around that. There's maybe even some awareness of other people that are doing the same, or kind of buddying up or coming together with people to collectively go into something, invest in something, participate or commit to something. And in and around that energy of the full moon in Taurus, and also as we welcome Venus moving into Scorpio on the 6th, you know, the desire to want to bond and to merge can feel quite powerful, you know, especially if it's something that's really motivating you, okay? 6 of Pentacles here. I think that you're also going to find that where there have been instances that you were almost held back or limited because there wasn't access to something that would have enabled it to happen. So maybe it's access to the right people, you know, the right knowledge or experience. Maybe it was that you needed the support or access to resources or financial money, but something that has felt like a prevention is now coming up in a new way. It's almost like there's a different route, there's a different access to be able to do something. So keep an eye for that through the month of November. Now Uranus is going back into Taurus on the 7th, okay? It's going to be there through April of 26, and you know, it's about what were the lessons in the last 8 years, you know, this kind of Taurian energy for you, which of course is that sort of 3rd house, right? So there may be some plans that we're looking at, maybe some stuff going on with siblings as well, but this Uranus back in Taurus, like we're going back to finish something up, but also we're realizing lessons that we've learned, and that's also going to play into your prosperity consciousness, okay? So, you know, think about the themes that are playing out and also what you've learned and what you've been through. Like I said, you can't love who you are and hate the experiences that shaped you. So there's something about that. Now, I think there's also a realization this month. You know, there's an intensity to November, but at the same time, paradoxically, I think there's a lighter energy and feel because it's almost like you're becoming more of who you were always supposed to be, right? And there's a sort of acceptance of that, right? What I'm going to say to you is share when your cup is overflowing, okay? When you know that you have the energy to give, please pay attention to that, especially from the 9th when Mercury is going retrograde in Sagittarius, right? It's also going to shift into Scorpio during that backspin on the 18th, and then it will go direct again on the 29th of this month. So we know that things can get a bit scrambled. There can be some delays, there can be some challenges around communication, but it feels like that's a direct invitation to just kind of come back to self, to be reflective, to allow things to come towards you, and maybe, you know, just to take a pause, especially in regards to like not overextending, overreaching, overgiving. Okay, that feels very notable by way of the message for you with that particular transit. Now, on the 11th, we're also set to see Jupiter going retrograde in Cancer. And I think that the realization of almost, it's like you kind of need to rein something in, right? But in reining it in, all you're doing is more deeply preparing yourself with the confidence, the belief, and a sense of loyalty to the future version of you and the future reality that you're trying to direct, and kind of making sure that from the inside out, that frequency matches, right? So that when you move forth with things that matter, the desires that you have, and how you're working with the things that are showing up on your path, there's less of a kind of discrepancy almost between, for example, like really wanting something and then sabotaging yourself in it, or, you know, having that desire but also not feeling worthy of it. So it kind of is an opportunity with that energy to really kind of do the inner work to get yourself in perfect alignment. Now, you've got the King of Wands here, so I know that there's something stirring and being reshaped, and it's coming from like an instinctual place. It's almost just like, right, I've got to kind of take this away and I've got to go figure it out for myself. And, you know, whatever area of your life that's hitting in regards, right, you know, there's this sense of I know what I have to do, okay? And in that energy of I know what I have to do, I think that there's also a realization that it's about finding more meaning for yourself as well. It's not just more consuming more information, more knowledge. It's like, you know, how you take what you've been through, what you've learned, using the tools that you've got, and really putting yourself in that prime optimal position to be able to realize that you don't actually need anything more. You've got everything at your disposal in this exact moment, right? And I read this thing this morning. I thought, gosh, that's so interesting. Like the difference between ice and water is 1 degree. And it just feels like this is how close you are, right? This is how close you are to seeing something change so powerfully. So even when you might still have a sense of being blocked or the timing being a problem, actually in the grand scheme, in the bigger picture, it's just like, it's so insignificant, it's so fleeting, because you are just right there at this precipice of this bigger shift and change. And there's something kind of magical coming through with that new moon in Scorpio on the 19th, and I want you to really take advantage of it. It just feels like you might get something you know, that kind of comes in to like really rebalance a situation for you. Now, you know, notably, obviously during Mercury retrograde, not ideal to sign contracts. However, if something comes through and it's almost like first draft, you know, like, or you get given something and you get an opportunity to read over like the terms and conditions and look at the details, and then perhaps it's just like whatever changes may need to happen, or just kind of sitting with that, and then when Mercury goes direct to 29th, you're ready to kind of put you know, your name to something or make that agreement. There's certainly a sort of commitment or an investment, something showing up here that feels notable. And I think that new moon in Scorpio has a really interesting message for you in relation to this. It's almost like you get a little bit of a buzz, like there's a sort of energy that's moving through you that's kind of giving you that, right, this is this feels right. This is the right direction for me. This is kind of the way that things are supposed to sort of align for me or line up at this moment. And it almost feels like you're right at the gate, you know. It's sort of like you're being held back, and then as we shift into Sagittarius energy on the 21st, you know, we're moving through that you know, that sort of bid for more expansiveness in our life. We're into 10th house for you. Saturn goes direct on the 27th, Mercury on the 29th, and I just feel like there's a real kind of green light moment for you in relation to that. Everything really, you know, Pisces, is about love or the absence of love. And, you know, I think if you can sort of strip it right back to that sort of basic truth, right? Seven of Pentacles. When you take stock at the end of the month, and, you know, you're in a place of real awareness about how things have unfolded and the way that you've responded, really think at it in those terms, okay? Because remember, like I said, your spiritual backbone has been revealed. You're feeling very driven, very different. You're coming more from a place of love than you ever have before. There's an awareness that you're not always in control of the bigger parts of your destiny field, and so finding ways to almost kind of be at peace, or to dance, you know, to the song that's actually playing in your life right now and not trying to skip ahead, I feel is important. But this sense of investment into something also feels really notable. You might be lining things up, and I always think November is a super interesting kind of preview month to a lot of things that are set to play out for you in the course of 2026. So, you know, you have this, you know, planting seeds and like knowing that there's going to be a timing aspect to this, but also realizing that you kind of want to get the energy sort of foundations in place for something. This need to prepare is going to be really strong for you. And I think that there is this kind of overarching theme stroke question that you're going to have in November. So be prepared for it. Is this worth it? Is this worth it? Okay. And, you know, the answer for you in regards to that is going to be, well, you know, how does the continuation of this support the life that you're trying to create for yourself, your family, your people that you care and love for? And, you know, what are the costs to it? You know, what are the compromises? What is it asking of you? Are you still able to maintain and sit in your truth and in your integrity? You know, you're the one that's going to know for yourself, but that question is going to ring loudly in your ears in some way. But the revelation of this spiritual backbone, I think, tells me that there is this sense of you coming to terms and kind of refocusing and, you know, being prepared toward the end of the month when these energies shift for the lessons that have been learned, what needs to be done differently, but also, you know, very clear in your goal, right? 10th house, it's like you're super clear and there's an ambitious quality that is there to be tapped into. And there's nothing to be ashamed of in that. It's like, you know, harness that and use it. You know, don't be dimming yourself in any way, shape or form. This is about the legacy that you're leaving, you know, in these areas of your life, and it matters. You know, it matters. So if you're new to the channel, the last 3 cards we're going to look at in the extended reading, I talked for another 25 minutes or so. You're going to find the link below. We'll also look at a personal and a relationship card for you, Pisces. Please, if you're resonating and you're in a position to do so, join me. It's enabling me to keep showing up to do the free readings, so I'm super grateful and appreciative. I'm just going to go ahead and clarify these cards and see the direction that we're going to take this extended reading for you, okay? I've got the Queen of Cups coming in here. So please check out my website, romywiser.com. All of my seasonal offers are going to be coming online in November. You'll find ways to work with me one-on-one and all of the services and products that I have to support you in your spiritual journey. Okay, Judgment and Justice. 8 of Wands. I do have this kind of sense from you this month, you know, this sort of enough is enough. Like you really are going to take a stand for yourself, and it, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean it's against other people. It's just almost even with yourself. That's kind of like, you know, I don't want to keep doing it in this way anymore, you know. And maybe there's a realization of what has been really almost metaphorically like self-harming, you know. It's just kind of, this is not serving me, you know, this thing that I'm doing, this way I'm thinking, this approach that I'm taking. And you are going to have what it is that you need in order to overcome that. Like I said, the backbone is emerging powerfully and palpably through the course of this month. And, you know, you'll use that new moon in Scorpio to really reshape things and almost like have that rebirth. Now we're just going to look at Life Soul Vision Oracle. This is my deck. See how this is adding to the conversation. We've got the Sun, third eye energy coming in for you. We've got Spirit Owl, Queen of Water. Notice you also had the Queen of Cups coming through there as well this month. Crown energy. We've got the Guide and the Gift showing up for you as well. Beautiful. Right, we're going to look at one more oracle for Pisces for the month of November. What do we have here? Okay. Friendship, support, fun, unity, play. Remember, of course, 11/11 this month. It's going to give you that powerful kind of opportunity, especially if you're like coming together with others. It feels like a time when that's going to be super beneficial for you, actually. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I hope you'll join me on the extended. We'll keep talking, and you take care. Have a great month ahead.